Norfolk Public Access, State and Local. I'm Anne Marie Battistone, and perennial favorite guest is with me today. That would be Jim Lehan. We're going to talk about the warrant articles and a little bit about Southwood and the new fire and police station. Well, thank you again for coming on. You're always more than welcome here.
Thank you.
So why don't we go right?
Good to see your friend is back.
Yeah, he looks good.
He does.
Yeah. So we may as well go right to this because quite a few things here to talk about, and we have some lead time before the town meeting, so this will be good.
Okay. Well, the good news is it's not a long warrant.
That's right. Yeah, I noticed that.
I mean, we've had some times where we've had over 100 articles, and we kind of spend the whole week there. But this should be a one-nighter without much difficulty. There are only 28 articles, and a lot of them are the traditional boilerplate articles that we have to go through every year to just kind of run the business, so to speak. So but there are some that I think will be of interest to people. Okay. Yeah. The real article I think that's important, and if we could, I'd love to spend some time on it because we never get to really explain the town budget, you know, as well as we'd like to. So I thank you for giving me the opportunity to kind of share some information on it. But we have balanced the budget. It's always a challenge. When we did our first run at the budget, we were about $600,000 out of balance, which means we have to go find new opportunities to save some money, so to speak, but we have done that, and so we are, as we do every year, presenting a balanced budget. We are, you know, the town for a better part of the last 10 or 12 years, you know, has never asked for a dime more than what the tax levy allows us. And I think sometimes what people don't understand is that the tax levy, which we're 96% residential, goes up, the bucket goes up 2.5% every year.
Right.
That's it.
Unless there's an override.
Unless there's an override, which we haven't had for a long time and hopefully won't for some time to come. So we really only have an additional 2.5% of revenue every year to work with. Now, we have other sources. We have state aid, we have new growth, we have excise taxes, things of that nature that all kind of go into the pot. But obviously the tax levy is the highest number. You know, that's the big number for us. And so that goes up 2.5%. Our budgets tend to go up closer to 3 to 4% every year. So what makes up the difference is that new growth and other sources of revenue, as I mentioned, excise tax and things like that sort of make up that difference. In bad years, when we don't get that revenue, people don't buy cars and, you know, and so on, budgets have to get cut.
Is there a different rate between residential and commercial property tax?
No, there is not in Norfolk. You can do that. They call it a split rate, and we have to set that rate every year. But our commercial revenue is so slow, or so low, I should say.
Right.
It's a little 5% roughly.
Right. So it would probably make a
we
big
would put such a huge burden on the commercial side of the ledger, if you will, that it all go away.
Right.
So we have a level rate for both. Now, some towns like I'm trying to think of one nearby. I believe Rentham. Rentham has a split rate. But Rentham has
they've got a
the
lot
malls, and you know, so they can put a little bit more.
They're
burden
building
on
a
the
new one
commercial
across
side.
the way, a huge one.
Yeah, they are. So no, we're a level rate. But this year, a couple of things I would like to mention to folks that I think will have interest. The schools, the Norfolk schools, and I just want to compliment the superintendent. She's been wonderful to work with. Just a very professional, delightful person, and I'm speaking from a selectman's perspective, although I got 7 grandkids in the school, so I have a bias there as well. But she's been terrific to work with. Her budgets are extremely well done. We didn't touch a thing that she recommended, but the big news for them is that they're eliminating the fees for buses and for all-day kindergarten, which is a big deal. And we're thrilled to support that because I think it's a great move and overdue, and we were able to find the funding to make that happen. And
from those other sources you previously mentioned?
Well,
or something different?
Their budget request was, I believe, 4.37%. And we can sustain that. We made that work. In addition, she's given us back about $100,000 to $125,000 of free cash this year. So that's how well she manages that budget. So she's been a great business partner. King Philip, our portion is going to be up about 5.7%, somewhere between 5.3 and 5.7. We're still negotiating, so to speak. That's pretty standard for them, not out of line, and I think that will work out okay.
What about the other 2 towns?
Well, Rentham has got a bigger chunk. We're 34% of the population, basically a third. Rentham's got a little bigger hit this year. So we'll see how they support it or not. It remains to be seen. They're always kind of the wild card.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
Huh.
I don't know why, but they they kind of have a history of not getting along with King Philip, so I'll leave that to them to discuss. But we're the first out of the gate. We're always the first town meeting, so we sort of set the banner, and whichever number the 2 towns approve, that's what we pay. So if the other 2 towns approve more, we pay more. If the other 2 towns approve less, then we pay less,
All
even
3
no
of
matter
you?
what we vote.
Oh.
Because it only takes 2 of the 3 towns to
Oh, is
approve
that
the
right?
budget. Yeah.
For the school?
For the
King
King
Philip,
schools,
rather.
yeah. So our budget this year is, I think, a pretty good budget. We're able to put a few things back, and I don't mean people. There's no new hires or anything involved in that, but we're able to sustain some programs that we've had to let go a little bit, and we have a good chunk of road money this year, most we've ever had.
Now, why is that?
Well, the governor released additional Chapter 90 funds for us this year.
Is that Baker?
Yes, I hope so. I think that's what we elected.
I didn't know how recent it
he
was.
released it, yes. He released some of the Chapter 90 funds, and we had a good surplus from last year. We got a lot of road work to do. I mean, you don't have to drive on many of our roads to know that the winter was brutal.
Norfolk isn't as bad is no worse, I should say, than Foxborough and Walpole.
Everybody's.
And Rentham.
Yeah.
In fact, I see they've done some little patching around.
Well, you don't have any choice. I think we've lost a couple of cars in some of those potholes, but
Well,
we
it
do
is
have
hard
we
bill.
will get a lot of road work done this year. A lot of road work done.
Now, wasn't one of the articles about the roads?
Well, there's a standard article that allows us to accept the Chapter 90 money. Basically, I know it's a strange article to have, but we literally can't take the check unless the town tells us we can.
Right, right.
But we will get a lot of road work done. We've had a borrowing article on there for roads, but we're going to IP that because we don't need to borrow this year.
Indefinitely postponed.
Yes.
Now, is that number 9?
Well, they're going to make me
Am
put my
I
glasses on, but
Jumping the...
no, that's different. Article 8 and Article 9 are both regarding capital.
oh, yes, I see.
We did get prison mitigation money for
Oh, so this is all actually budget from 4-3 right on?
all the way through.
Oh,
yeah.
okay, okay.
Yeah. There's about 10 articles there that relate to budget between the
Okay.
water and the schools and the town and capital. We have about $400 and some odd thousand of capital available this year. We will be buying a few new cruisers. We're getting the fire chief a new car. His is quite outdated, 2006, and a lot of miles and a lot of wear. Pickup truck for DPW.
And those are all custom cars, right?
They are.
And
yeah.
who does that customization? Different companies?
There's a firm that does it, yeah. We deal with a specific firm. They cost about $45,000 fully equipped. They're not a simple, it's not buying off the showroom kind of car. You know, they're special for police.
And that would be the total for the car. That's not just the upgrade.
Yeah, it's in the 40s.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's
Well,
the
that
total
makes,
for the
yeah.
car. Especially with the technology and everything that goes in there. They have to have the safe
And the-
compartment
and
in
the
the
little
back
computer.
and all of that, yeah.
Oh, that's right, yes.
So we will have some capital items, but again, they'll be fully funded. We will have one article we're getting pretty close to needing a new ambulance.
Oh.
So we'll have a borrowing article for that, but we intend to lease it as opposed to buy it. We've done that in the past, and it's
Now-
worked out very well for us.
Now, will you tell people about the amount of money that's being borrowed? Was
yes.
that in 3?
It has to be specific, yeah.
And okay, so is that here and this written
It's
down,
probably
or will you say
it'll
it?
be in the motion.
Oh, I
We
see.
tend not to put-
Okay.
Yeah, we tend not to put the number in
Oh,
the
that's true because it
warrant.
could, yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
put
you're
it
written
in the motion.
It's written in
Yeah.
stone then, isn't it?
But it will be specific.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
But we're not borrowing a lot for capital. We have sufficient funds to meet most of the needs. So that's gone well. There is another article in here to eliminate the capital outlay committee. We're starting to kind of clean some of these things up. We've had a tendency over the years to put lots of layers into the governmental process, and it just doesn't work.
Oh, no,
And
it's
it's
not.
very hard to get people to participate.
Right.
So we had a capital outlay committee, and we used to ask them to sort of divide and conquer, play Solomon with all the department heads, and they don't have any of the knowledge or background to
Right.
really make those decisions. So we put them in a very hard spot, and it just hasn't worked out. So we're eliminating that committee, and letting the process work through the town administrator and the department heads, which was really where it belongs, because they're closer to the issues, they're better positioned to prioritize the projects and the needs, and so that's one of the reasons. And in future town meetings, we're going to try and clean some more of that up.
That's good.
Yeah, we're trying to streamline the process, not taking the public out of it, because town meeting approves
Well, no,
everything.
right.
But streamlining the process so that decisions are made with more of a background and knowledge than just forcing people into decisions that they don't have that information. It's just not fair. And
Aren't
everybody's
the
a
people
volunteer.
that get approved for those committees, don't the selectmen look for somebody that already has some knowledge of finance and
Well,
running a
in the ideal
corporation?
world, yes. I mean, you would like to fit skill sets to what the job requires, so to speak, but we've been so hard pressed just to find volunteers.
I know it's too bad there aren't
We're
more
very grateful for
people
everyone
running
that steps
for
forward.
offices.
I mean, very, very grateful for everyone that steps forward. So, so the budget, I think, should go pretty well. I mean, I don't think there's anything controversial in there. I think people will be pleased with the school budgets. Chapter 90 funds I mentioned, we're doing very well there. We have sufficient funding.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Are there ever funds that are appropriated for something that then can be removed and used for something else? Because I've heard people worry and talk about.
No. If the article, no, and then a yes, but the yes only comes with approval. If you have an article that says we're borrowing X amount of money for this particular project, that money can only be used for that project. We can't direct it in any other direction. Cannot do it. If we don't end up spending it, it just comes off the books. So it doesn't. We can't say, well, we didn't spend it on roads. We're going to go spend it on siding the town hall. We can't do that. Okay. So if it's cash that we allocate, in other words, it's actually a budgeted item, and it isn't spent, it just flows into free cash for the following year.
Okay.
And then the town has to reappropriate it.
All right.
We can't go and spend it somewhere else just because we underspent a budget. That's how we get our free cash.
Right.
So unlike the schools where you vote one number and then they get to move it around, which is appropriate for them, in town government, we can't move money from one item to another, so to speak, without permission.
Right.
So, and sometimes in fall town meeting we do transfers, you may recall.
Yes, yes.
Okay, that's what we're doing. We're underspent over here and we need more over here, so we're making a transfer from count A to count B, but town has to approve that. We just
And
can't do
that's
it.
available in public record.
Oh, it's a town meeting. It requires town meeting vote.
But I mean, subsequently, when the actual money gets spent.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, one of the good things about town government is, and some of the cumbersome things about town government, is there are a lot of layers of checks and balances. They're time consuming, and sometimes it frustrates. From someone like me that comes from the business world, it's a little frustrating because everything takes longer. But from the public's perspective, it's a good thing because there are really several checkpoints for all of these items. And in fact, there's an article in here to add another checkpoint that we'll talk about a little bit that I suspect some people might be kind of curious about.
Okay.
But there are a lot of checks and balances, and no, we can't redirect funds from one area to another without permission from the town. That was a good question, because I've had people ask me that same question.
It's not a pen and a phone deal like somebody else does to get what they want.
No, I wish it. I'm glad it's not. I was going to say I would never wish that, but I'm glad it's not. No. There are a couple of King Philip articles on here that I think are interesting, and one is for a turf field.
You're at 9?
I'm actually on 17.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I'm
That's
jumping
all right.
around.
No problem. No.
But King Philip is, they've had a fundraising program for some time now to try and raise funds for a turf field. They're one of the few schools in the Hawk League that doesn't have a turf field.
Oh.
They're still on grass, and it's a very high maintenance consideration.
Oh, yeah.
And so they've been trying to find the
I
funding
imagine
to do
you couldn't
this.
play the same, could you?
Well, I can't answer that. I never played on a turf field, so I don't know.
No, but I mean, it must be more even. It must be,
I
you
would
must have
imagine,
less divots coming in.
I'm sure it's better. But they have raised about $400,000 privately. They think that
Really?
it's going to cost about $1 million to redo this. They're bidding it as we speak. So they've asked each of the 3 towns to contribute $200,000 to the project, and it's an all or nothing deal. So that article is there. We will have to borrow for that.
What does it mean? It's either 200. There's no option of other than 200,000.
That's what the
Is that what
article
you're
will
saying?
be.
Okay.
It'll be 200,000, and then Plainville and Rentham will have the same article. And if all three do not approve it, then it dies.
Is that will that be a lot of money for Plainville to come up with, do you think?
I can't speak for them. I mean, they're getting additional revenues from, you know, the slots and things of that nature. They've had a lot of development around Route 1. So, but I don't, I mean, I've talked to their town administrator, but I can't speak for them. So that article is on there, and speaking just only for me, I fully support that. They really do need that. The other one that actually there are three King Philip articles here, but they are requesting to change the date of their budgeting process, which we completely favor. King Philip, because of their charter, has to certify a budget very early in the process, in February. And it's so early in the process that it's never an accurate budget. And it's not their fault. It's just too early in the...
In February.
Yeah, I mean, we just pretty much finished our budget the beginning of April. Imagine if we had to finish it in February. We don't even have a good feel for all of our expenditures in February. So they're asking to delay that process. We're thrilled they're doing it because it really means they can give us a more accurate estimate of their needs if they can do it a little bit later in the process. So that's what I hope everybody will support. Kind of a no-brainer article.
Now, does that involve the other two towns as well?
Oh, yeah.
So they could also can that?
They could, but I think in this case it's a 2 out of 3 wins.
Yeah.
I don't think this requires all 3 towns.
Oh, okay.
Only the capital item requires all 3
okay.
towns. Pretty sure on that.
And then there was also 19. You want to do the
19, also King Philip. This
sewer improvement.
Yeah, this is unfortunately not a very well worded article. It's their wording. It implies that we're going to be giving them an additional $50,000, but in truth we're not. How did that get by? Well, it's the correct wording, but it could be misunderstood. This relates to repairs that had to be done on the middle school. And the costs for those repairs came in excess of what they estimated. And even though they're spending it out of their own free cash, they need permission from the towns to do that. So that's what this article is. It basically is an article that gives them the permission to spend their own money. This is not coming from the taxpayers of Norfolk. This is coming from the school district. Well, it does say 50 cents by the district. I know. From the district's own. That is ambiguous, isn't it? It is, yeah. But it's not taxpayer money. It's not, well, it is indirectly, but it's money that's in their coffers, not ours. You know, I've often wondered who literally writes these? Well, is there somebody in the state? Town council, because the style is always so uniform, and I've often wondered. Well, a lot of them are boilerplate, and then somewhat dictated by statute. Oh, okay. But town council reviews all articles. Right. Well, yes. Well, that we author. They're not going to give opinions on King Philip articles, but they do author all of the other articles. There are 3 or 4 community preservation articles, which is kind of a light lift for them. Nothing. What is that now? Following right along on Articles 20 and 21. Oh, okay. And 22. These are again pretty much boilerplate. The 10%. You know, it's the 10%. Didn't we get rid of that 10%? What do you mean? I thought that they voted for there to be less than 10% for open space purchases. That the CPCs. No, there are. Well, you may be thinking of the vote that reduced the contribution. We reduced the contribution. Yes, yes. The town voted to do that. To what, from 7 to 3, or? No, 3 to I think it's 1 or 1.5. Okay. I've forgotten which. To be honest with you. But that's for the taxpayers' money. That's the taxpayers' money. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. This is the state statute that requires that 10% of CPC funds be set aside for each of these areas. And that's required by law. Okay. So this is a boilerplate article that goes into every town meeting warrant that has a Community Preservation Act in place. So this is the law. You have to set aside 10% for each of these areas. Yeah, mirror state law. I noticed these is this the first time they put the town administrator's comment in the? I think it is, and there'll also, of course, be the advisory board's that's kind of helpful. Yeah, I agree. That's a good idea. Yeah. Well, we'll give the town administrator credit for that because that was his idea. Oh, was it? It was. Well, he probably comments on these anyway. He does, but now this is the first time we've actually put them in the warrant, and that was Jack's idea. Yeah, why not? Yeah. There are 2 petitions, which is unusual for us. One petition is, as you probably know, has gotten a lot of publicity lately regarding Common Core. Right, that's 26. Article 26. It's a long one. Sort of the Cliff Note version of this is that it's a non-binding
Right.
vote that simply is designed to send a message to the state of Massachusetts, if passed by town meeting,
Okay.
that we don't want Common Core. And the park exam, and
Now,
we'll
who,
see. I'm
who
sure
wrote
it'll
this? The petitioner?
petitioner.
I see.
Yeah, and I'm sure it will facilitate a very lively discussion. It's certainly been a hot topic. But that will be on the article, and again, it's non-binding, but it does send a message from the voters. And then there's a petition from a citizen regarding private roads and shared driveways.
27.
Yeah, this in essence, this is not allowed currently in the town of Norfolk. If you go in Connecticut, Connecticut does a lot of this. They're called pork chop lots, where you basically have more than one home off of a single driveway. And this is asking to change our zoning to allow that. The planning board, this is an article that the planning board reviews and will recommend
This
on.
is happening near my house.
Yeah, and the planning board has recommended against this.
Against.
Against.
And that's because what the now who would pay for who would pay for these roads? The town?
Well, they'd be private
Or
roads.
So the owner of the property would pay for the road.
Right, driveways are privately owned.
Right,
So
right.
this is, how can I give you, let me give you an example. If you have a lot that's landlocked, that doesn't have frontage,
Right.
for example, but it would, off of a driveway, it would.
Yeah.
Then in essence, you're allowing someone to build a home on a lot that's not buildable today. So you'd have a single driveway, and as I said,
Would that be
you
somebody
see this
else's driveway that that would
it'd
be
be a shared driveway, literally a shared
You see
driveway.
that in Medfield quite a bit.
You see it a lot in Connecticut. A lot of developments have done that.
There's a
And-
house in behind the house.
Exactly right. Yeah, there'd be a house way in the back.
Yeah.
That's what this is intended to allow.
Now, what's the concern that people wouldn't keep it up, and there'd be a problem with the?
I'm going to let the planning board
public,
speak
but-
to that.
oh.
They'll speak about it. It's they're the ones that comment on these articles.
Yeah, I noticed there's nothing
The Board
here
of
from
Selectmen.
Jack
I
or
mean, we may
something.
have a personal opinion, but our board doesn't comment on these as a board.
So how are people know?
Well, the petitioner,
then what-
I assume the petitioner
Will
will
get
have
up
to
and-
present it. Yeah,
Okay, the
Yeah.
person that wants it.
right.
I mean, I can see where that could be a problem if somebody's supposed to keep up a road, and then the public vehicles can't get in there, and then you've got an issue with this individual to get them to bring it up to
Good
code.
point. Could be. I mean, it's a private driveway, so we have no, we don't regulate private driveways. So I think that there's probably a number of concerns over it.
Oh yeah, I think so too.
But we'll see how
Now,
it all shakes
there were
out.
some others that you had at the
They
beginning.
were. I'm sorry, I skipped around
all
on
right.
you a little bit. There is another zoning article that I'll just briefly talk about, which is regarding the solar panels.
Oh yeah.
We passed an
Is
article
that
at the last.
12 or?
It's later. It's 28.
Oh,
We passed an article at the last town meeting that
Oh, here it
required
is.
a special
Oh.
permit for ground-based solar.
I remember that.
Now, a special permit does not deny the right.
Right.
It just regulates how it's done.
Mm-hmm.
So in essence, it was designed to protect a neighbor from having
Right.
a land-based solar panel put right up to his property
Hideous,
line.
yeah,
that
some
would
awful looking, yeah.
potentially have some impact on their property.
Right.
And so it was a well-intended article. What it didn't address was that it had to be associated with a building. So someone could own a lot, a vacant lot,
Oh, my-
and put up a solar panel.
And then run wires, or how
Well,
does that?
whatever reason that they want to do it, but they would have the right to do that because we didn't close that loophole.
Didn't that happen over at the old airport field, or am I
Not that I know
wrong
of.
about that?
Not that I know of. But this would require it to be associated with a building, so
Mm-hmm.
either a private home or a commercial building, and that's really the only change.
Now, where does it say that?
Well, you'd have to kind of sort through all of the
Accessory
uses.
to a commercial building. Oh, here it is, accessory to a residential building. You know, after you look at this stuff year after year, it becomes a little less intimidating. You know, I know the first
I'm
time
not sure I
went
agree
to a
with that,
town,
but
well, I mean, the first
zoning
time I went
articles
to a
are always
town meeting.
intimidating.
Now we've got about 5 minutes. Do you want to use that to talk about
Sure,
Southwood?
sure.
Or do you feel like we've? Okay.
Actually, I want folks to know, and we'll announce this at town meeting, we're going to be having 3 public forums on this whole Southwood project that will be in May. One will be at a Board of Selectmen meeting, then we're going to do a cable show, and then we're going to hold a public forum up at the middle school. And we'll have those dates at town meeting for everybody, and hopefully they'll be well attended. just a little history on Southwood. It's a large parcel off of Route 1A owned by the Archdiocese. It used to be a hospital. Hasn't been a hospital for a long time. It's a unique piece of property because it has 2 areas of contamination. 2 brownfields are associated with that property. So you can just logically assume that the Archdiocese isn't going to sell that land to anyone that doesn't have the capacity to clean it up because they don't want any extended liability. There are very, very few people that have the capacity to clean up brownfields and develop it at the same time. So the individual that has approached us is one of those few that have that capacity.
Is that from Hoboken?
Hoboken. Okay. He has done it in other areas. He is proposing a very, very large development. 240 single-family units, I believe 190 or 120 apartments, and then an assisted living and some commercial space. It's a very large development.
Now let me just ensure, will he only go forward if he gets all of that?
Well, let me give you the exact numbers because I may have misrepresented them, and I don't want to do that, but I'm pretty sure I'm pretty close to that.
Do you understand what I'm saying? In other words, it's all or nothing, those numbers?
Well, to a certain degree. It is zoned currently for what's known as restricted age and commercial development. It's currently zoned for that. He has agreed that the single-family homes will all be restricted age. That's a big deal because it's like River's Edge.
Yes, exactly.
So that eliminates the concern about having that many homes and its impact on the schools. It does have a financial impact on our public safety.
That's true.
Speaking as an older person, you get
know
more.
That.
When you have clusters of older folks, you tend to have more medical considerations.
Accidents,
So, and the apartments were a concern to us as well. Not that we don't need apartments. I happen to personally think we do. We have none in Norfolk.
Are these at market rate?
These would be what they call Class A apartments, which means they're high-end apartments. Only 1 and 2 bedrooms. So again, you're limiting the potential for the number of children when you have only a maximum of 2 bedrooms. But they're high-end.
I understand.
And the reason we insisted on high-end, Westwood did a project very similar to this, is that we don't run the risk of these falling into Section 8 type of situations. So by building them to a higher standard with granite and all of these things, you're going to get higher rents and you're going to attract a different type of clientele. So, and he's agreed to that as well. The commercial is not going to be a big deal because there's not going to be that much of it. The assisted living is actually very attractive to us. That's a self-contained operation, but there's a way to do that would get us credit towards our affordable housing requirements.
Oh, that's good.
So we could get a big chunk of credit there if we do it a certain way, and he's agreeable to that as well.
I remember once upon a time hearing about the fact that he wanted, with those individual homes, an apartment on the side. Was that nixed?
That's gone.
Oh, okay.
That's gone. Yeah, that was the original proposal. Yeah, that's gone.
That's good.
There's still a lot of open issues. I'm not promoting it yes or no. I can just tell you that we've met probably at least 8 or 9 times for a better part of 9 months now with this working committee. It's been a great group of people. The attendance has been outstanding. We still have issues to work through, but we're getting closer. And we've reached the point where we need to let people voice opinions on this. And
now, what are the dates? We're just about right out of time. What are the dates? Can we just let people know now?
I may not have them with me.
Exactly?
I apologize. I don't have them.
That's okay.
I don't have them with me.
It'll get out.
But we'll announce it at town meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll put them up on the slide on town meeting, but they'll come first to the selectmen's meeting, and he'll present to us where we are. Then we'll do a cable show.
Are you going to do that here?
It's the only cable station I think we have.
I mean, are you going to do it elsewhere?
No, we'll do it here.
We'll
do it here. And then we'll do an open forum at the middle school again, and really want people to attend.
Okay.
It's a complicated project, and he has done a very detailed financial analysis on this at our request. If this doesn't work for us, because he needs some zoning changes, and this will be done as an overlay district. What I mean by an overlay district is that it is a very defined plan with very specific phase-ins for each of the projects. So he can't just go in and build nothing but homes.
Yes.
And then leave.
Right.
In other words, he gets so many homes, and then he has to do so much on the assisted living, or it might be he has to do the assisted living first. I mean, those things still need to be worked out.
Okay.
But it's a very, very clearly defined implementation strategy, and it's an all or nothing deal. So you vote on the whole project.
You know, speaking of all or nothing, I've got to go.
Oh.
We've got to go.
Okay.
We're out of time. So, but thank you. Oh, thank you so much for
Not at all.
coming. I wish we, you know, maybe we can come back again and talk
Oh,
about
we never
this.
got to the
When
police and fire.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
But another time.
Another time.
And thank you for watching State and Local. I'm Anne Marie Battistone. My guest was Jim Lehan, Selectman, and we'll be back another time. I have another candidate to interview, and we'll see you again for that.